up. I'm so excited about this. My name is Reverend Michelle Hale, and I have been studying this type of work for over 30 years. When I was a little girl, I was just able, I've always been very empathic, and I always knew that there was a connection to me, to the universe, to the animals, to the plants. I knew that we were all one living organism that somewhere along the line had gotten off track to our true family, being the earth herself, from what was being demonstrated around in my lifetime. My mother walked into my room at 8 months old and found a green mist hovering over my crib. I know what that is today, but back then she didn't know, so it kind of scared her. And the fact that she didn't want a child just gave her even more reason to push me away. So at the age of 11, I came from a very abusive household. I was molested by 5 members of my family. They put me on Ritalin and Valium at the age of 6. So I was pretty much a man-made addict. Because back then I came from the experimental time. They didn't know what these drugs were going to do and how powerful they were and what they would do to the human body. So when they took me off of them, me leaving the home life that I was in, I hit the streets and started seeking out a replacement drug. So for a lot of my life, I have been under the influence of drugs and alcohol to some degree, all the while having that still small voice inside of me telling me that there's something more that I'm here to be doing and that this is all temporary. And I said okay to that. For whatever reason, somehow I knew these experiences were setting me up for something later on in life. And the whole time, the one thing that the drugs did, it was more drugs than it was alcohol. But one of the things that I found myself seeking was hallucinogenics. And the reason being for the hallucinogenics is because somewhere deep inside of me, I knew they could help expand my mind. I knew they could help open doors that were seemingly the people around me were wanting to shut desperately. Nobody talked about witchcraft, nobody talked about the occult. All of that stuff was hidden, no, and that's the devil's work. Which, of course, coming from the household I came from, I want more of that then. Because I was a rebel without a cause at the time. I was looking for something to make me feel better about being me. And that's what started driving my occult fascination. My occult fascination took me to, as we were discussing earlier, extraterrestrial life, understanding who the old gods were, what they were here for, who was who, understanding the principles that I noticed each one of these different sects taught. And I started as I got older and I got my head together as far as, you don't need drugs and alcohol to, awaken yourself deeper. I took the entire 90s and went on a sabbatical, and I did nothing but study and study. I was great. I was very fortunate enough to be able to homeschool my son and to have 10 full years of being a stay-home mom and study. And I had my nose in the book. I had a teaching coven in Florida, and I taught these principles down there. And there's some amazing people that came out of that and doing amazing things with their life today, so I'm so very grateful for that. What I learned, though, I studied Buddhism, witchcraft, high magic, Satanism, shamanism, New Age. I've had my fingers in all of it, but because I was seeking one thing. I wanted to find what the common bond was. I was seeking that golden thread of truth. I studied Christianity, I studied the Gnostic Christians. There was something that had to be there, and that's what I was seeking. And that's why I poured over all of these books. And that's why I'm here today, because the one thing I noticed that it kept bringing me back to, every single one of them kept bringing me back to the Hermetic principles. And the Hermetic principles are the universal laws that govern our universe, our macrocosm, and our microcosm. And we are connected to both. I find it interesting that you study the heavens, and everything in those heavens is within you. And how those heavens move govern that which is in you. And you have an understanding of that, I noticed, because we were talking about full moons and energies, and we're going to get into all of that because that's part of how our connection got lost. Is they separated the human psyche. They took the mind, body, and spirit and put it in different classes. You go to a psychologist for the mind, you go to a physician for the body, and you go to religious organizations for the spirit. And unfortunately, most of our religious bodies today are not telling us the truth about who we are and what we're here to do, and how powerful we truly are. And that's one of the reasons why I teach these principles. I understand these principles to the best of my ability right now. More is always revealed. And it's another reason I love this work is because it never ends. And it's like the more you bring it forward and you know, you do that divine great work, the more it's like the universe says, okay, here's some more, and it's just like I can't get away fast enough. So, we are going to start. That's my story. That's where I've come from. Is there anything you want to share, Micah?
I'm Reverend Micah Hale. I'm her esteemed husband and personal assistant here today. I came from a somewhat different background. I wasn't on the streets. I wasn't addicted to drugs and alcohol per se. I came from a church background. My father was a pastor. I actually grew up as an addict, but not of drugs and alcohol. I was actually a porn addict for a very, very long time, I'd say close to about 20-something years of my life. And going through the ins and out of that, I came to a certain point in my religious studies, being a pastor's son, where I just took it on because, you know, it sounded all right to me, and they're telling me that it's all right, so I'll go with it. I reached a certain time, about 18, I was like, you know what, this isn't really working for me anymore because I'm not getting all that I feel like I should be getting from this. I'm not learning all that I feel like I should. I feel like there's a wall that I'm hitting against that I want to get past. And it wasn't until many, many years and some searching of my own, but not so very deep, that I finally came to a workshop that really honed it in for me where Christianity was coming from, where Buddhism was coming from, Judaism, didn't really matter. A lot of them had that common thread, and that's where it really opened up for me. And then after I got into AA to really work out my addiction problems, that's when more things really started opening up for me. And what I've been learning here, I've been learning for the past year and a half so far, and everything just really lines up for me the more and more that I read it, the more and more that I study. Whatever I look into, it always pretty much leads back to these principles. So I know that continuing with this, continuing with my own personal studies, there's more to always find, and that excites me more than anything.
All right. Well, the 7 hermetic principles, what we're going to do, how we're going to do this class is we're going to read, and we're going to discuss, and it's going to be fun. And there's homework.
Well, that's even more fun.
Exactly. And I have to tell you now, I'm going to challenge your beliefs. I'm going to challenge things inside of you to ponder, to contemplate. So whatever I present to you, know 2 things. I'm not doing it to piss you off. Well, maybe your ego. I do like challenging egos. I challenge mine daily. But what I'm here to do is help you discover your deeper truth. And a lot of times we don't recognize that there's even more. A lot of us have been doing spiritual work. I know the New Age community is flooded with laws of attraction and all of this, but here's what you don't know. That the New Age community actually has been infiltrated to a degree by the dark occultists. They're real. They do want to control us, and they want to control the information still to a degree. And what you learn about the law of attraction in the New Age community, you're not getting the full story. You're not getting the full story. And that's why a lot of times it fizzles. Because it's more than just activating the law, okay? There's steps that need to be in process and in place to fully understand how to utilize this law and have it work for you, and how to know how to work it properly without any fizzles or backfires or anything like that, and we will get into that as well. So here are the 7 hermetic principles. The first one is mentalism. All is mind, the universe is mental. The second one is correspondence. As above, so below, so above. The next one is vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Polarity, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has its poles, everything has its pairs of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites and identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truth are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Gender. The principle of gender is in everything. Everything has masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. And I know I'm in a group of people here that understand that we are in a multidimensional universe and there are many planes of existence. And I really, really like that because it's really hard to share that with some people. The next one is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. And the real law of attraction, cause and effect. The principle of cause and effect. Everything has an effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes this law. And here's the introduction. You want to take us in there, Mr. Micah?
As you notice, we've got a iconic picture here from the film The Matrix with the red pill and the blue pill. The blue pill symbology, if many of you know, is representative of the passive, and of course if Neo took it, he would have stayed asleep and not come to the truths that he did, whereas the red pill is about action. One thing I learned in the workshop and continuing to learn these principles is that it's all about action. Study will only get you so far. Introduction. What is alchemy? In order to understand what alchemy is, we must break down the word itself. Alchemy comes from the words al, which means from, and chem, which means black. In the ancient past, what we now call Egypt was named Chem for the fertile black soil from the Nile River. One can say that alchemy is fertile soil to grow the soul. Don't let the black soil turn you away, however. All soil is dark, and a seed must grow in that dark womb in order to spring forth in the light of day. We are all, in essence, fertile seeds, planted in the black dirt of forgetfulness. Alchemy is the fertilizer that can help us grow into our true nature, our divine self, remembering who we are and what we came here to do.
Now, once again, this goes right back to Egypt. This goes right back. Everything, if you study it, eventually takes you back to Chem. This is where Thoth brought forward these principles and tried to teach them to the population. And this is also where a lot of things got occulted on purpose. There were two reasons why things got occulted. The word occult means hidden, and there's two reasons. One was to keep the dark occultists from having this knowledge, and two, to make sure that this knowledge did not fall into the wrong hands when turmoil, fighting. I mean, look what they did to the Alexandrian Library. Come on now. I would kill to know what was in there, you know. And they don't want this knowledge. And I know this sounds like a conspiracy theory. I'm going to point you in a couple of directions. I want you to do some of your homework and your research. It's not a conspiracy. Things that I have come into this planet knowing since I was a child is coming to pass now. And the only thing I can do about it is get and bring forward to as many people as I possibly can their truth and how to empower them with the same knowledge that these people are using, the bankers, the politicians. All of these people are in the darker occults in one way, the Bohemian Club, a Grove. All of this stuff exists. All of this stuff exists. And we can no longer turn a blind eye. We have to start empowering ourselves. And instead of guns, why not empower ourselves with truth? And understand how to work and use this truth. Not only in our personal daily life. This right here, this workbook right here, will, and the only way it's going to work is if you work it, but it will change things within you. You will, by the time these 7 weeks are up, will see a radical change within you, in your feelings, in your understanding. Synchronicities will start popping up that you will not be able to deny. things are going to happen, and they're going to be life-changing because your consciousness is literally going to be expanded. And you're going to start understanding things at a much deeper level. This is sort of like an initiation to higher consciousness. Only reason I can say it with such guarantee is because it happened to me, and everybody I've taken this through has had the same effect. So let's empower ourselves deeply. Everything goes back to Egypt. Everything goes back to Egypt. Go ahead, Micah.
The main tenets of the process of alchemy are the 7 Hermetic principles. Principle is defined as first in rank or importance, chief general truth or law, basic to other truths, law, moral standards collectively, that which is inherent in anything, the primary source of fundamental cause. It comes from the Latin word principal, which means first, foremost, original, primitive, and chief. Hermetic actually is what comes from Hermes. This is what the latest rendition of the principles, but they originated in Egypt from Thoth. Hermetic means of Hermes, most often associated with the Greek god. The founder of the Hermetic principles was Hermes Trismegistus, also called Hermes the Thrice Great. Greece, however, was not the only land that practiced these laws. They were present before the Grecian mysteries in Egypt, when Thoth, the scribe of the gods, brought this knowledge to the Egyptians, and they were also given to the Mesoamericans and the Aztecs by Quetzalcoatl. These teachings are far-reaching across many cultures, including India, Persia, China, Japan, Assyria, and Rome.
Now let me, real quick on Thoth. Okay, we were talking a little bit earlier about who our ancient gods were.
Aliens.
Yeah, and Thoth was, he was a scribe of the gods. He brought this knowledge to. He was also the one who wrote on the emerald tablets, which are extremely interesting. I highly suggest you go and investigate the emerald tablets. But he also incarnated, the reason why they call Hermes thrice great is because Thoth incarnated in Hermes, and Thoth was also Quetzalcoatl. And that's why they call it the thrice great, is he kept incarnating and kept bringing these teachings. Now, if you've noticed, in all of these places that he incarnated himself, they have pyramids. There's no coincidence there. They have pyramids.
Oh.
They have pyramids in all of these places that Thoth chose to come back. And again, I'm very grateful that I'm surrounded by people who understand reincarnation and that I don't have to work my way into that. You guys get it, so I can just be blunt with it. Thank you so much for your higher minds. But this was...
No, okay, you're cool with it?
I know reincarnations.
Okay, so that's who Thoth was. So just to let you know, that's why they call it the thrice great, is because he came through 3 different times, 3 different eras, and taught these same principles.
And now that we have defined the word principle, it stands to show how important it is to have principles in our lives. In living by principles, we can create the life we want to live. These principles were occulted, which means hidden, by many of our world leaders so that they could stay in power. When this knowledge comes out of hiding, it brings a deeper understanding of the responsibility needed to work these laws in our daily lives, in all our thoughts, emotions, and actions with conscious intent. Ultimately, what we are here to grow is our consciousness, because when the consciousness grows, so does our soul. Many well-known alchemists throughout history include Carl Jung, Isaac Newton, the Count of Saint Germain, Nicholas Flamel, Edward Kelly, and John Dee, Enki, who was the Sumerian god who created the peoples and gave them the knowledge, Pope John the 22nd, Plato, and Leonardo da Vinci. And this is just to name a few. There are many and more. Now that we know what the word means and how important its principles are, we can see how the metals of alchemy correspond in the human condition, the microcosm, in relation to our divine nature, which is the macrocosm, and the planets. The 7 alchemical metals that we have, first are lead, tin, iron, copper, mercury, silver, and gold.
Now, real quick before we go any further, I want to touch again, since we were talking about reincarnation, and we were talking about who Thoth was and how he incarnated intently in each of these incarnations to do the same work. He carried on what we call, magicians call, the great work. What the great work is expanding the Christ consciousness. It is expanding the consciousness of the human soul as one. When it is in science, it is proven that when one species learns something new, the entire species, it filters through the entire consciousness of that species. They've seen it demonstrated with monkeys and parrots and things to that nature. Same principle goes with trees. I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but when a tree is dying, what it will do is it will take all of its life juices and put it down into the roots and feed the forest, the other trees connected with it. So, in a sense, that's reincarnation on a physical level, because this tree recognizes the physical's going, let me give my life out. Thoth coming back each time with conscious intent of knowing each lifetime. He is literally setting himself up for the coming lifetime that he's about to come back into. If Thoth can do this, I know for a fact we can do it. But think about the ones who are in power that have been doing this over and over and over. The elite, the bankers, the royalty. Why do you think they stay with their own bloodline? To continue with this knowledge and continue their being in power, their being the elite. And this knowledge they have, and trust me, they work it to keep themselves in power. They understand reincarnation, and they understand the law of cause and effect. And they understand that they can set their lives up in continuation. The reincarnation used to be in the Bible. Thanks to Constantine, it was removed from the Bible. Why would they remove this? Exactly. Control. Why have the people know what they can do? Why have the people have this knowledge so that they can just take control of their life and know how? Moral responsibility. Now, if they can do it, we can do it. And that's what I'm hoping, that we can expand ourselves in this consciousness of not only clearing things up in this lifetime, but becoming consciously aware deep within us that we're setting ourselves up for the next lifetime. Because who do you think our children are going to be? Who do you think our grandchildren are? They're going to be us. We may not be able to live in a world that works for everybody now, because all we're doing is experiencing the effect of the cause of 10,000 years ago, and we're still experiencing this because we've been kept in fear. Our knowledge has been occulted and taken away from us. So we begin to empower ourselves now. And our grandchildren, who will be us, right? Maybe there'll be that world that works for everybody then, because enough of us will have remembered there is great strength in numbers. And if we come together as one for the common goal, then we can set that world up that works for everybody. So let's go ahead and go back into the...
First we have lead. This is governed by the planet Saturn. Lead has dark connections and is related to death and transformation. This toxic metal represents impurities of the metals as well as the humans, and its burning is metaphoric with cleansing and removal of imperfections. This is where we begin our alchemical transformation. See, lead is representative of the ego. We are removing the impurities of the emotional, mental, and spiritual that keep us from our divine truth. And all of these impurities, you can call them old programming, so to speak. Next we have tin. This is representative of Jupiter. It embodies wisdom, logic, education, maturity, and knowledge, and is believed to be the metal of the sages and scholars. It is associated with mediation, balance, and a philosophical view of life. This metal is also connected to prosperity and wealth. Next we have iron, one of the most abundant elements in the universe. Iron is dominated by the planet Mars. Iron symbolizes the male energy and is connected to physical power, aggression, growth, dependence, and protection. It promotes emotions such as lust, confidence, courage, strength, stamina, and resilience. It is considered to be the most human metal, and so is distrusted by the ethereal entities and spirits. Next is copper. Copper is ruled by the planet Venus. Copper embodies the nurturing aspect of women and their youthfulness. It is associated with the matters of love and lust and symbolizes characteristics like charisma, feminine beauty, artistic creativity, affection, caring, and balance. It is also considered a healing metal that teaches about living a fulfilling life. Next is mercury. This is associated obviously with the planet of the same name. Mercury is an unusual metal that exists in the liquid form at room temperature. It is a toxic metal and is associated with death, mystery, and transformation. Mercury is also related to travel and movement, be it of physical or spiritual nature. As Mercury was the messenger of the gods, I find it quite fitting. Next is silver, and this is the regal metal that is connected to the moon. It is one of the most versatile metals, one of the 3 base metals in alchemy. It is associated with philosophical traits of intuition, self-reflection, and inner wisdom. It is a feminine metal, a symbol of purity, and is connected to the goddesses and spirits. Its energies include divination, healing, protection, emotion, love, wisdom, dreams, luck, and wealth. It is symbolic of attributes such as vision, clarity, awareness, focus, persistence, and subtle strength. Lastly, we have gold. The celestial body represented by gold is the sun and is the most valuable metal known to man, which is why it was so precious among alchemists, turning other metals into gold. It's very symbolic of the perfect human. It was believed to represent perfection and purity. Most of the cultures across the world have seen this metal as a symbol of wealth, prosperity, authority, and charisma. It was supposed to aid in healing, protection, growth, and knowledge.
All right, so we notice that the first one is lead. Okay, this is our base metal within us as it talks about the ego. All right, this is what, as we're growing up, we start identifying ourselves with. We start listening and paying attention to the world around us. We start taking in on those hidden beliefs. All right, this is what someone else does, so it must be okay to do this. You know, whether it's right or wrong. Yeah. So this is the lead. This is the lead within our bodies. We also know lead is toxic if they put it in our paint. The next one is tin, and this embodies wisdom. Well, there comes a point in time in our life where we start seeking knowledge. You know, the things that we're looking around, it's not just, it doesn't jive up. It's not lining up with something that's kind of talking to us in here, right? So we start searching for something a little shinier than that hard, toxic lead, all right? And then we move on to iron. And iron is, we get into a point in our lives where we feel maybe we need to protect ourselves a little bit. If you look at all the swords from back in the Viking days and the shields and everything, they were made out of iron. It was a great way to protect, you know. And sometimes when we're doing this type of work, we have got to use that iron. We've got to use that will energy to kind of shield us from some of the energies dropping around the planet. I mean, people are dropping psychic debris all the time and we're stepping into it. If we don't take that iron and kind of strengthen ourselves a little bit, we're going to get bombarded with other people's thought forms, psychic energy, and all around bullshit, excuse my French, but hey, you know. Copper kind of gets a little shinier. And as we've gone from the ego base, and then we're seeking knowledge, and we're protecting ourselves by seeking more knowledge, then we get into the planet Venus. Venus is all about love. Now we're seeking the beauty in life. We know that, yeah, there's a lot of ugliness around us, but now we're starting to look for the beautiful, and we're also looking for the beautiful within us. And that's something that a lot of us don't do. We don't look in the mirror. All we do, I don't know about you, but there's been many times I looked in the mirror and all I can do is find my faults. You know, all I can do is point out what's wrong. Well, you know, Michelle, you don't look like you used to. Well, hell no, I don't. I'm 52 now. I'm not gonna look like I used to. But see, there's that ego inside of me that wants me to compare myself. You know, or I'll see some, you guys are absolutely amazing, beautiful women. So you know what my ego wants to do? Oh, what can you offer these people? They're already smart. Well, I am too. But see, I have to tell myself that sometimes, because my ego does not want me to expand into love. And love goes far beyond than object love, relationship love. I've got to build a relationship with me. I've got to love me. And so many of us don't do that today. And that's why copper is ruled by Venus. This is self-love. This is starting to look within for that beautiful metal. Because copper, when you polish it, is very beautiful. And it's conductive. So you've got to have that self-love to continue pursuing and turning that ego upside down and putting it as a servant, as it was meant to be, and never the master. Then we go into Mercury. Mercury is the spirit. It's the movement. It's that intuitional moving within us that begins to circulate through us, much like the Kundalini. It begins to move through us. It begins to liquefy. It begins to move a little bit with more ease and comfort, gets used to being in the body. You kind of, Mercury is a beautiful, beautiful metal. I love looking at Mercury. But then you have to get into that feminine quality. You have to go through that shadow self to get to the true gold within you. And the shadow self is represented by the goddess, by the moon, and by silver. And people tend to think witchcraft is very governed by the goddess symbol. And we are very attuned with the seasons, and we're very attuned with the movement of the moon. In astrology, all of these planets that we have talked about here so far, when they go into retrograde, or when they're in a certain astrological pattern in the sky, believe it or not, their energies govern us. And we're going to learn that as well as we move on here. But their energies, when that full moon, like tonight, hospitals and police are always like, oh my God, it's a full moon, lunacy's coming out. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, because it pulls on the tides in the ocean, it pulls our emotional waters too. But if we don't know how to look within ourselves and start performing that spiritual alchemy that we need to bring ourselves into the fruition of that gold, turning ourselves into that philosopher's stone, seeking that alchemical awakening that is a process and it does work, then we allow those emotions to be what rule us. We don't understand that we're being governed by the moon, or we're being governed by the seasons. But our bodies are in touch with this earth. Our bodies are of the earth. Our spirits are not. And what we're meant to come here and do is to be spiritual beings, having a human experience, and bringing as above, so below as above, into one being, and living from that on the planet. This is the time of the Aquarius. Aquarius is the water bearer. She's pouring the water